Wondering if it's time to embrace living alone as an older adult? In this video, we're uncovering 15 powerful signs that could be telling you it's the right move. From gaining independence to improving your well-being, these signs could change your perspective. Stay with us until the end for a surprising revelation that might just convince you to take the leap. Number 1. You value your independence above all else. If there's one thing you hold close to your heart, it's your freedom. Living on your own terms isn't just a preference for you, it's a way of life. Independence fuels your sense of purpose and keeps you feeling alive. You love the idea of making your own decisions, no strings attached, without the need to consult or compromise with anyone else. For you, autonomy is the ultimate luxury, and you wear it like a badge of honor. When you live alone, every choice is yours to make. You decide what's for dinner, whether it's a gourmet feast or a snack straight from the fridge. Your mornings are quiet, filled with rituals that are yours and yours alone. Nobody's asking why you're taking your time to sip that coffee or why you chose to leave the dishes until tomorrow. That's the beauty of it, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Some people thrive on companionship and shared routines, but not you. It's not that you don't enjoy people, you might even cherish your social circle or love your family deeply. It's just that you recharge best when you're on your own. Solitude doesn't feel lonely, it feels liberating. You'd rather have your own space to think, dream, and plan without interruptions with a hum of someone else's presence in the background. And let's be honest, living with someone else, no matter how lovely they are, inevitably comes with compromises. Maybe it's tiny things, like which side of the bed is yours, or bigger ones, like deciding how to spend shared money. These negotiations can feel like little intrusions on your freedom. But when you live alone, those compromises vanish. You set the rules. Your space, your sanctuary, becomes a reflection of exactly who you are, with no one else's input to muddy the waters. Sometimes, it's about the little victories, too. Want to dance around your living room to your favorite playlist? Go for it. Feel like staying up until dawn binging on a new show? Nobody's there to judge. You get to create a life that feels as unique as you are. That's priceless. There's also a practical side to valuing independence. You're responsible for everything: bills, groceries, maintenance, the works. And while that might sound like a lot to someone else, you find it empowering. It's proof that you can handle life's challenges on your own, and that's something to be proud of. When you're living alone, every achievement, no matter how small, is yours and yours alone. But here's the best part: living alone doesn't mean you're isolating yourself. It means you get to choose when and how you engage with the world. You can fill your days with friends, hobbies, and outings, or enjoy the peace of a quiet evening at home. The point is, you decide. And for someone who values their independence above all else, that kind of freedom is simply non-negotiable. Number 2, you have a strong sense of self-sufficiency. If you're someone who thrives on doing things on your own, living alone might just be your calling. A strong sense of self-sufficiency isn't just about handling practical stuff like cooking, cleaning, or managing bills, it's a deeper vibe. It's about knowing you've got your own back no matter what. You enjoy the idea of being in charge of your life, your space, and your decisions. No waiting around for someone to help hang a picture or fix a dripping faucet. You'll roll up your sleeves and figure it out. And, honestly, you kind of love that independence. Being self-sufficient often means you don't feel a deep need to rely on others for validation or companionship. It's not that you're antisocial, you might enjoy catching up with friends or having family over, but you don't feel incomplete without someone there all the time. Your happiness comes from within, and your ability to create a fulfilling day all on your own is one of your superpowers. There's a quiet pride in doing things your way, at your pace, without having to consult or compromise with another person. It's freeing, isn't it? You also probably appreciate a sense of control over your environment. Maybe it's about knowing the dishes will be done the way you like, or that your favorite chair is always free. Living alone means every little detail is exactly how you want it. No debates about where the thermostat should be set or whose turn it is to do the laundry. That control isn't about being rigid or selfish, it's about creating a sanctuary that reflects you, and only you. There's also a creativity to self-sufficiency. You enjoy figuring things out, whether it's learning how to assemble furniture or experimenting with a new recipe. There's no one watching or judging if you mess up, so you can laugh off the failures and celebrate the successes without worrying about an audience. Living alone gives you the perfect canvas to embrace that side of yourself without interruption or commentary. Of course, being self-sufficient doesn't mean you're impervious to loneliness, it's more about knowing how to manage it. You're not waiting for someone else to swoop in and make you feel okay. If you're bored, you'll pick up a book, start a hobby, or go for a walk. If you're feeling down, you've got ways to cheer yourself up. That kind of emotional independence is rare and powerful, and it's a big reason why living alone can feel not just manageable, but deeply rewarding. When you've got that strong, self-reliant streak, living alone stops feeling like solitude and starts feeling like freedom. It's your space, your rules, your life. And that's exactly the way you like it. Number 3, you dislike compromising on household decisions. Let's be honest, living with others means constant negotiations, from the color of the curtains to whether you can keep the thermostat set to your preferred temperature. If you're someone who thrives on having complete control over your environment, sharing your home might feel like an endless battle. Every decision, big or small, becomes a team project, and sometimes, you just don't have the energy or the patience for that. Imagine this. You want a minimalist living room, but your roommate or partner has a flair for bright, eclectic decor. Suddenly, your serene, calming space turns into a compromise you didn't sign up for. It's not about being stubborn, it's about wanting your home to reflect your personality and preferences. After all, your home is your sanctuary. It's where you unwind, recharge, and feel most at peace. If you're constantly bending to someone else's vision, it might not feel like your space anymore. Then there's the never-ending debate about practical matters. Do you like a quiet evening with soft jazz playing in the background? Maybe the other person prefers the TV blaring reality shows or has a habit of making late-night phone calls that echo through the house. Even minor choices like what's for dinner or whether the kitchen sponge is used for dishes only can become flashpoints for frustration. Living alone solves all of this. You get the freedom to make decisions without explaining yourself. You can choose a bold paint color for the walls one day and rearrange the furniture the next without needing anyone's approval. Want to turn your second bedroom into an art studio, a library, or even a walk-in closet? Go for it. The beauty of solo living is that it's all up to you. This isn't just about aesthetics either. It's about routines and habits, the rhythm of daily life. Maybe you're someone who likes doing dishes right after eating, while others prefer to leave them until morning. Or you might be meticulous about keeping the bathroom spotless, but shared living means discovering toothpaste smudges on the mirror again. If you're nodding along, you've probably realized that compromising feels less like teamwork and more like a headache. Let's not forget the emotional toll. Compromise isn't just tiring, it can sometimes leave you feeling unheard or unseen. When you live with others, their preferences inevitably bleed into your life. And if you're someone who values independence and autonomy above all, this can feel suffocating over time. It's not that you don't care about others, you just care about yourself enough to want your space exactly how you like it. Living alone lets you embrace that independence. It's about creating a space that mirrors your soul without outside interference. Sure, it might mean shouldering all the responsibility yourself, but the trade-off is worth it. No more tiptoeing around someone else's quirks or compromising on what makes you happy. your house, your rules. And for some people, that's not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Number 4, you have minimal social or family obligations. Let's face it, not everyone's life is overflowing with social commitments or family gatherings. Some people thrive in quieter waters, where the pull of obligations isn't constantly tugging at them. If that sounds like you, living alone might be the perfect fit. Without a calendar crammed with birthdays, reunions, or endless calls to check in on this cousin or that nephew, you're free to embrace a lifestyle that revolves entirely around your own rhythm. Maybe your family is small, or you've intentionally kept your circle tight. Either way, the beauty here is in the simplicity. You don't have to spend hours juggling plans or feeling guilty for skipping out on a dinner you didn't want to attend in the first place. Your time is your own, and that's a gift. When you live alone, you don't have to worry about accommodating anyone else's needs or schedules, and for someone with minimal social or family ties, that can feel like pure bliss. Think about the day-to-day flow of your life. If you're not managing other people's expectations or navigating the complex web of relationships, you get to focus on what truly matters to you. That might mean diving into a hobby you've always loved, spending hours lost in a good book, or just soaking up the peace of your own company. There's no one to interrupt your groove, no one to ask, "What's next on the agenda?" Sure, some might say that a lack of obligations sounds lonely, but for you, it's probably the opposite. It's freeing. It's space to breathe, to think, to live on your own terms. You don't have to deal with the awkward tension of feeling like you're not giving enough or the stress of being pulled in a dozen directions at once. That kind of emotional weightlessness is underrated. And let's not overlook the practical side of this equation. When your social or family ties are minimal, there's a lot less complexity to manage. No last-minute calls for help with this or that, no drama about who said what at the last gathering, no guilt over declining an invitation to yet another event you're not interested in. Living alone, you get to skip all of that and just focus on building a life that works for you. It's not that you're antisocial or disconnected. You might have friendships that you hold close or even enjoy spending time with loved ones when the occasion arises. But the lack of constant social obligations means you get to engage on your terms. If you're in the mood for connection, great. If not, you can enjoy the quiet without guilt. It's that kind of balance that makes living alone such a good match for someone who values minimal entanglements. In the end, having fewer social or family obligations isn't a downside, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to embrace a life that's as peaceful, flexible, and self-directed as you want it to be. And for you, that might just be the dream. Number 5, you are financially stable and can manage living costs alone. Living alone is a dream for many, but let's be real, it's not all fluffy blankets and endless silence. One of the biggest signs you're ready to go solo as an older adult is if your finances are rock solid. And I'm not just talking about being able to pay rent or cover a mortgage. It's about truly understanding and handling the full picture of what solo living costs. Think utilities, groceries, insurance, maintenance, and yes, even the occasional surprise expense that seems to pop up out of nowhere, like a burst pipe or an unexpected medical bill. If you can shoulder all of that without losing sleep, then you're in a great spot. Financial stability isn't just about the numbers in your bank account, though that's a good start. It's also about having the mindset and habits that let you live comfortably within your means. Are you someone who knows how to plan ahead and stick to a budget? Do you have a rainy day fund or investments that you've been nurturing? If you've got all that under control, living alone can feel like a well-earned reward for your years of smart money decisions. There's a kind of peace in knowing you've got it covered, every bill, every month, without the need to call anyone else for help. Now, let's talk about the freedom that financial independence brings. When you're managing your money well, you don't have to worry about someone else's spending habits messing up your plans. No disputes over splitting the cable bill or arguments about who left the air conditioner on all day. It's just you, making choices that work for you. Want to splurge on organic groceries or buy that extra cozy armchair you've been eyeing? Go for it. Your finances, your call. Of course, living alone also means you're taking full responsibility for everything, and that's where being financially stable really shines. You're not relying on a roommate or partner to pick up the slack if things get tight. That self-reliance can be incredibly empowering, especially if you've reached a point in life where you're looking for simplicity and autonomy. You're not just surviving, you're thriving, knowing every light left on and every pantry shelf stocked is thanks to you. And let's not forget the sense of pride that comes with it. Being able to afford living alone isn't just a practical milestone, it's a statement. It says, I've worked hard to get here, and I deserve this. There's a satisfaction in looking around your home, knowing you've built it, you maintain it, and you make it yours, all on your own terms. So, if you're in a place where you can comfortably cover the costs of living solo, without worrying about financial strain, it might just be time to take the plunge. With financial stability as your foundation, living alone becomes less of a challenge and more of a gift to yourself. Number 6, you find it stressful to adapt to others' schedules or routines. Let's face it, trying to align your daily rhythm with someone else's can be exhausting. It's like forcing two puzzle pieces together that just don't fit. You have your way of doing things, your preferred pace, and when someone else's routine starts clashing with yours, it can throw everything off balance. You like waking up at 6 a.m.? Great. But if someone else in the house stays up until midnight binge-watching shows, the whole vibe of your home can feel mismatched. And let's not even get started on shared mealtimes or coordinating plans. When you're living with someone, there's this invisible thread of obligation, this expectation to sync up, even if it's unspoken. Maybe they like to start their day slow, lingering over coffee while you're itching to dive into your tasks. Or, they're one of those let's eat dinner at 9 p.m. people when you're ready for bed by then. Little differences like this can snowball into frustration because, frankly, adapting to someone else's timing can feel like compromising your own priorities. What about your personal time? That's a big one. You might have specific blocks in your day reserved for what you love, reading, gardening, exercising, or just plain zoning out. When someone else's schedule intrudes, it can feel like your sanctuary is being chipped away at. Their phone rings during your quiet time, their errands suddenly become your shared responsibility, or their chatter distracts you during a focused moment. Even if they don't mean to disrupt you, it happens. And it can be downright draining. Living alone, on the other hand, offers the ultimate freedom, your schedule, your way. You can decide to spend an entire morning lounging in your pajamas without anyone asking what's on the agenda. Or, if you're the kind who thrives on structure, you can build your day exactly how you like it without interruptions. Want to blast music while cooking at 2 p.m.? Done. Prefer to go to bed at 8 p.m. and wake up with the sunrise? No one's stopping you. It's not selfish, it's self-care. There's also the mental load of managing someone else's needs alongside your own. Even if they don't ask you to adjust to their rhythm, you often feel the pressure to anyway. It's like your subconscious is always running calculations. Will my plan work with theirs? Are they expecting me to join them for this or that? Over time, this mental juggling act can lead to stress and resentment, even if you're not fully aware of it. When you live solo, none of this matters. You can exist in your own flow, moving at your own pace. If you want to spend an entire Sunday doing absolutely nothing, you can. And if you're feeling spontaneous, you can shake up your routine without worrying about how it affects anyone else. There's a calmness in that kind of autonomy, a quiet joy in knowing your time is truly yours. For many people, that alone makes living alone a dream worth chasing. Number 7, you prefer peace and quiet over socializing. Some people thrive in the hum of lively conversations and group gatherings, but not you. You crave the stillness, the calm, the kind of silence that lets you hear your own thoughts without interruption. It's not that you dislike people, you might even enjoy their company now and then, but when it comes down to it, you'd pick a serene evening over a crowded room any day of the week. There's something magical about a quiet space that's entirely yours. A home where the only sounds are the ones you choose, birds outside your window, a soft playlist, or the pages of a book turning. Living alone lets you embrace that calm fully, without compromise. No unexpected visitors, no one talking over your favorite part of a show, no one shuffling around the kitchen when you're trying to unwind. Just you and your own oasis of tranquility. For you, peace and quiet aren't just nice-to-haves, they're necessities. They recharge you, soothe you, and help you feel grounded. Socializing, while fine in small doses, can feel draining. You might find yourself mentally clocking out during long conversations or wishing you could slip away for a breather. That's a sign that your energy comes from solitude, not social settings. And there's nothing wrong with that, it's simply who you are. When you live alone, you don't have to apologize for needing space. No explaining why you'd rather stay home than meet up. No awkward excuses about being too tired for a get-together. You're free to skip the small talk and enjoy the quiet moments that bring you real joy. Imagine waking up to a house where the vibe is exactly how you want it. Nobody's chatting loudly on the phone, nobody's knocking on your door, it's just peace, all day long. Living alone also means you get to set the tone for your day. Feel like a silent morning with just a cup of tea? Perfect. Want to let your thoughts wander without the interruption of someone else's voice? Go for it. When you prefer peace over socializing, having that control over your environment is priceless. It's about creating a sanctuary where you can just be yourself, no masks, no performances. And it's not like you're shutting the world out completely. You can connect with people when you want to, on your terms. A call here, a visit there, just enough to remind yourself that you're not isolated, you're simply selective. The difference is, after those moments of connection, you get to come home to stillness, to the kind of peace that feels like a soft exhale at the end of a long day. If the thought of quiet evenings, peaceful mornings, in a home that's entirely yours makes you smile, that's a pretty clear sign. For someone who values calm over chatter, living alone isn't just a lifestyle, it's a gift. A way to truly honor the part of you that thrives in the quiet. Number 8. You dislike the thought of being responsible for another person's comfort or needs. Let's face it, some people are just wired to take care of others, but you? Maybe that's not your thing. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. If the thought of catering to someone else's needs or constantly worrying about whether they're comfortable makes you cringe, it's a pretty solid sign that living alone might be your sweet spot. You're not selfish, you just value the freedom that comes with focusing on your own life without the added weight of someone else's expectations. Picture this, no worrying about cooking meals that suit someone else's dietary preferences or adjusting your schedule to fit theirs. Living with someone often comes with this unspoken agreement that you'll be part caretaker, part cheerleader, and part therapist. It can feel like you're carrying an invisible to-do list that never really ends. If that idea doesn't sit well with you, it's okay to admit that shared living isn't your vibe. Some people thrive on companionship, but you? You might just thrive on space. When you live alone, you don't have to think twice about someone else's bad day or whether they're feeling too hot or too cold. There's no tiptoeing around to avoid disturbing their nap or trying to gauge if they're in the mood to talk. You get to live life on your terms, no compromises necessary. If you want total silence, done. Want to blast your favorite song on repeat without worrying if it's someone else's least favorite tune? Go for it. It's all about creating an environment where you can be completely you. Now, let's talk about energy, emotional, mental, and physical. Sharing a space often means sharing your energy, and for some people, that's just plain exhausting. You might find that being around someone else, even someone you care about, takes more out of you than it gives. That's not a flaw, it's just self-awareness. And if you've reached a point in life where you're prioritizing your peace, living alone gives you the ultimate gift, the ability to conserve your energy for what truly matters to you. Living alone also removes that constant nagging question, am I doing enough for them? You don't have to worry about whether they feel neglected or if they're happy with the way things are. That kind of mental load can weigh heavy, even if it's subconscious. But when it's just you, you're free to focus on making yourself happy without feeling like you're falling short in some invisible balancing act. So, if you've ever found yourself resenting the idea of adjusting your life to accommodate someone else's comfort, that's your cue. Living alone isn't about rejecting connection, it's about embracing independence. It's about recognizing that your energy is a precious resource and choosing to spend it where it matters most, on you. Number 9. You are highly protective of your downtime and personal boundaries. If your downtime is sacred and you guard your personal space like it's the crown jewels, living alone might just be your best-case scenario. There's nothing wrong with wanting your time and space to be entirely your own. In fact, it's empowering. When you value those quiet moments and firm boundaries, having someone else in your space, even if they mean well, can feel like an intrusion. It's not that you're antisocial, you just know that uninterrupted time to recharge is non-negotiable for your peace of mind. Think about it. Downtime is your reset button, the part of the day when you can exhale, let your guard down, and truly unwind. Whether that looks like curling up with a book, meditating, binge-watching your favorite series, or just sitting in blissful silence, it's your time. It's precious. And having another person around, someone who might not share the same need for quiet, can disrupt that delicate balance. They might not understand why you don't feel like chatting after a long day, or they might hover when all you want is to be left alone. Boundaries come into play here, too. Living with someone else often means an endless dance of negotiations. They knock on your door, ask for favors, or assume it's fine to pop into your personal space without a second thought. Even the nicest, most well-meaning roommate or partner might not realize when they're crossing a line. And let's be honest, constantly having to explain or defend your boundaries can get old fast. It's exhausting. When you live alone, though, you're in full control. You decide when and how you interact with others. If you feel like having an entire day of solitude, you can. If you want to create a home where every corner reflects your personality and feels like a haven, no one's stopping you. There's no compromise required, no awkward conversations about needing me time, and no guilt about wanting space. It's also about the freedom to define how you spend your time. Want to take a long bath in the middle of the day without anyone knocking to ask when you'll be done? Go for it. Feel like sprawling out in the living room and doing absolutely nothing productive? Who's going to judge? Living alone lets you craft a life that revolves around your needs, your energy, and your mood. There's something undeniably peaceful about a life without interruptions. No unsolicited advice about how you spend your downtime. No noise when you crave silence. Just you, doing what you love, exactly how you want to. It's not selfish, it's self-preservation. If you cherish your personal space and protect it like a fortress, then living alone might not just be a preference. It might be the key to your happiness. And honestly, there's no better reason than that. Number 10. You have a reliable support system for emergencies. Living alone can be an incredible experience. It gives you freedom, peace, and control over your space. But let's be real for a second. Life isn't always predictable, and emergencies can happen. The key to making solo living work as an older adult is having a rock-solid support system you can count on when the unexpected strikes. If you've got that in place, it's like having a safety net, giving you the confidence to fully embrace living on your own. Here's the deal, when you live alone, you don't have someone under the same roof to help if something goes wrong. That's where your support system comes in. It could be close friends, neighbors, or even a trusted network of professionals. These are the people who would show up in a heartbeat if you needed them. Maybe it's someone you'd call if you weren't feeling well, or a person who checks in regularly to make sure everything's okay. The point is, you're not totally on your own, even if your house is quiet. Having that kind of backup isn't just comforting, it's empowering. You don't need to share your space with someone full-time just to feel secure. You know that if a pipe bursts, your power goes out, or you need a ride to an appointment, you've got people in your corner. It's the kind of reassurance that makes solo living a whole lot less stressful. And let's not forget, a good support system doesn't just mean people who can physically show up. Sometimes, it's about having someone to talk to, someone who listens when you're feeling off or need advice. Whether it's a quick phone call or a long chat over coffee, knowing you have emotional support is just as important as having practical help. Of course, a reliable support system doesn't appear out of nowhere, it's something you nurture. It's about building relationships and being intentional about staying connected, even if you prefer your own company most of the time. It could mean checking in with neighbors or keeping in touch with friends and family regularly. Those connections matter, and they make all the difference when you're living alone. Then there's technology, which can be a huge part of your safety net. Emergency contacts programmed into your phone, a medical alert system, or even group chats with people who care about you can provide an added layer of security. These tools give you the independence to live alone without sacrificing peace of mind. What's great about having a solid support system is that it lets you enjoy the perks of solo living, peace, privacy, and autonomy, without feeling vulnerable. It's like knowing you've got a safety valve, so you don't have to second-guess your decision to live on your own. You can focus on living your life, knowing that if something happens, help is just a call away. For someone who values their independence but still wants the assurance of being cared for in an emergency, this is the best of both worlds. Number 11, you feel uncomfortable sharing your living space. Let's be real, sharing your living space isn't for everyone. If the thought of someone else's stuff crowding your perfectly arranged shelves or their routines clashing with your rhythm makes your skin crawl, it's a clear sign that solo living is your vibe. Some people thrive in a bustling household, but if you're the type who values personal space above all else, living alone could be the key to your happiness. There's something about having your home as your sanctuary. A place that's entirely yours, where every corner reflects your tastes, your habits, and your way of life. Sharing that sacred space can feel like an invasion, no matter how nice or accommodating the other person might be. It's not about disliking people, it's about cherishing the tranquility and control that comes from having a space that's exclusively yours. And then there's the noise factor. Living with someone else often means dealing with sounds you didn't sign up for, the hum of their favorite TV show in the next room, the clatter of dishes at odd hours, or even just the sound of them moving around. If you're someone who craves peace and quiet, even the smallest disturbances can feel like a storm rolling through your personal paradise. When you live alone, you get to bask in the soundscape of your choice, silence, music, or the gentle hum of a fan. It's entirely up to you. The same goes for routines. Everyone has their way of doing things, whether it's the time they get up, how they organize their day, or even the way they load the dishwasher, or don't. If you're someone who values consistency in your own routines and doesn't want to adapt to someone else's quirks, then shared living can feel like an ongoing compromise. When you're on your own, you can wake up, eat, clean, and relax exactly when and how you want without considering anyone else's preferences. Let's not forget the little irritations that come with sharing space. Maybe it's someone leaving lights on, monopolizing the bathroom, or rearranging things that you like exactly as they are. Those small things can add up, creating a constant undercurrent of frustration. Living alone means none of that, it's just you, doing things your way, with no surprises waiting when you open a cabinet or turn a corner. Ultimately, feeling uncomfortable sharing your living space isn't about being rigid or difficult. It's about knowing yourself and what makes you feel at ease. Your home should be the one place where you feel completely in control, where you can unwind without distractions or disruptions. If sharing a space feels more like a source of tension than a source of connection, it's a sign you're ready for a space that's 100% yours. Living alone doesn't mean shutting people out. It means creating a home that truly feels like home, just for you. Number 12, you no longer crave the love and support of others. At some point, you might reach a stage in life where you feel perfectly content relying on yourself. That deep hunger for constant connection, validation, or emotional support from others just fades. It's not about becoming cold or distant, it's about feeling whole on your own. You've walked enough paths, weathered enough storms, and learned to stand tall without needing someone else to prop you up. And honestly, it's freeing. When you no longer crave love or support from others, you start to realize how much energy you've spent over the years trying to meet expectations, nurture relationships, or explain yourself. There's peace in letting go of that dynamic. It's not that you don't care about people, you do. You just don't need them in the same way anymore. The idea of living alone, of creating a life that revolves around your own rhythm and needs, starts to feel not only appealing but completely natural. There's also a shift in how you view love and companionship. When you're younger, there's often this unspoken pressure to stay connected, to check in, to be available, to show up for others, even when it's draining. But as you grow older, you might find yourself realizing that your own company is enough. You don't feel guilty about skipping the small talk or declining the constant back and forth that relationships often demand. You've come to appreciate the quiet simplicity of being alone with your thoughts, your hobbies, and your peace. Support is another layer. The truth is, when you've spent years figuring things out on your own, you don't really look for someone to lean on anymore. You trust yourself to navigate challenges, solve problems, and take care of what needs to be done. You're your own safety net. And while that might sound lonely to some, to you, it feels like independence at its finest. Why wait for someone to come through for you when you already know you can handle it? Living alone gives you the ultimate freedom to embrace this self-sufficient mindset. It's a space where you don't have to cater to anyone else's needs or expectations. You don't have to explain why you don't feel like talking or why you'd rather spend your evening in silence instead of sharing it with someone else. It's your life, your way. And let's not overlook how much easier things get when you stop craving external validation. There's no pressure to perform in relationships or adjust your personality to fit someone else's preferences. You can just be. That's the beauty of living alone. When you've reached this level of contentment, it's not about rejecting others, it's about fully embracing yourself. In the end, this isn't about cutting ties or turning your back on relationships. It's about recognizing that you're complete, all on your own. If that resonates with you, living alone isn't just an option, it's the lifestyle that fits who you've become. And what could be more fulfilling than living a life that's truly yours? Number 13, you dislike compromising on household decisions. Let's be honest, compromise can be overrated. Especially when it comes to your home, your sanctuary, your domain. If the idea of negotiating over which couch to buy, how to load the dishwasher, or what temperature to set the thermostat makes your skin crawl, living alone might just be your calling. Your space, your rules, no debates, what's not to love? For you, household decisions aren't just about practicality, they're deeply personal. Maybe you've spent years making adjustments to suit others, or perhaps you just know exactly what you want and don't see the point in hashing it out with someone else. Why argue over paint colors when you can just choose the one that makes you happy? Why deal with the frustration of someone rearranging your carefully curated kitchen when it's your domain to rule? Living alone means never having to negotiate over the little things, or the big ones. When you live with someone, every choice feels like a committee decision. Should you buy blackout curtains or go for sheer ones? Do you need a new vacuum now or can it wait? Even something as small as deciding which toothpaste to use can spark a debate. It's exhausting. But when you're living solo, all those decisions are yours to make. Want to splurge on a high-tech gadget for your kitchen? Done. Thinking of rearranging the furniture at midnight just because you feel like it? Go for it. And it's not just about aesthetics or gadgets, it's about control over your environment. You don't have to listen to someone's argument about why the TV belongs in one room when you know it works better in another. There's no back and forth over which groceries to buy or how to organize the closet. You set the standards, you make the choices, and no one is there to veto them. But it's not just avoiding disagreements, it's about the sheer joy of living exactly the way you want to. You don't have to explain why you like your favorite chair in the corner or why you'd rather keep the windows open even when it's a little chilly. There's freedom in that. A kind of peace that comes from knowing your home reflects you completely, without compromise. Some people thrive on collaboration and shared decision-making. But if you're the type who groans at the thought of consulting someone else on every little thing, living alone is like a breath of fresh air. It's not selfish, it's self-aware. You know what you like, what works for you, and what doesn't, and you're not interested in constantly bending to accommodate someone else's preferences. When your home is yours alone, it becomes a true reflection of who you are, from the furniture you pick to the routines you create. It's a space where you can thrive without anyone else's input muddying the waters. And if the idea of making decisions without compromise sounds like heaven, then living alone might just be your perfect fit. Number 14, you are highly protective of your downtime and personal boundaries. If your downtime feels sacred and you guard it like a dragon hoarding treasure, living alone might be exactly what you need. For some people, those quiet moments of rest and solitude aren't just nice to have, they're essential. They're what recharges your batteries, clears your mind, and keeps you feeling balanced. If you're the kind of person who values that time and doesn't like it interrupted, then sharing a home with someone else can feel like a constant intrusion on your peace. When you live alone, your time is yours. There's no one knocking on your door to chat when you're trying to read, no background noise pulling your focus, and no uninvited commentary on how you choose to spend your day. Whether you're binge-watching your favorite shows, journaling, or simply staring at the ceiling in blissful silence, you get to decide how you use your downtime without having to accommodate anyone else's needs or preferences. That freedom? It's priceless. Personal boundaries are another big piece of this puzzle. If you're someone who values clear lines between your space, your time, and everyone else's, living alone is the ultimate way to honor those boundaries. You don't have to worry about anyone walking into your room unannounced or borrowing your things without asking. Your home becomes a space where you can fully let your guard down because there's no one else there to push those invisible but oh so important limits. Let's not forget about emotional boundaries, too. Living with others often means being on more than you'd like, engaging in small talk when you're not in the mood, mediating conflicts, or just being available when someone needs something. If you're fiercely protective of your mental energy and prefer to decide when and how you interact with others, living alone gives you that choice. You can fully control when you engage with the world and when you retreat to recharge. And downtime isn't just about relaxation. For a lot of people, it's also about creativity, hobbies, or simply having the mental space to think. When you live with someone else, their schedule, habits, and noise can easily disrupt your flow. But when you live alone, you have uninterrupted stretches of time to dive into whatever brings you joy or helps you feel grounded. You can create your ideal routine without worrying if it conflicts with someone else's. If you've ever felt annoyed by someone breaking into your quiet time, you know how precious it is to have complete control over your environment. Living alone means you never have to explain why you need space, it's simply yours, all the time. For someone who values downtime and personal boundaries as much as you do, that kind of freedom isn't just nice, it's essential. It's about creating a life where your needs come first and your home truly feels like a haven. Number 15. You dislike the idea of being accountable to someone else for your whereabouts. Some people thrive on the constant check-ins and updates that come with living with someone. But if the thought of having to explain where you're going, what you're doing, or when you'll be back makes you feel even a little bit claustrophobic, living alone might be the dream you didn't know you needed. There's something liberating about knowing you can just go. No questions, no explanations, no compromises. It's not about being secretive or rebellious, it's about enjoying the freedom of being truly untethered. When you live with someone else, even casually, there's this unspoken obligation to communicate your movements. A simple decision to run to the store can turn into a mini Q&A session. What do you need? How long will you be gone? Can you pick something up for me? It's not necessarily controlling, but it can feel like an invisible leash, tugging at your independence. And let's not forget the subtle pressure that comes with those expectations. Maybe you just want to take a drive to clear your head, wander aimlessly, or spontaneously explore a new spot. With someone else in the picture, you might feel the need to justify that decision. Or worse, they might want to join you, and suddenly your personal escape becomes a shared activity. It's not that you don't enjoy their company, but sometimes, you just want to disappear into your own world for a bit. No strings, no tags, no where were you? Living alone means you don't owe anyone an itinerary. You can leave your house at 9 p.m. for no reason at all and return at midnight, and no one will blink an eye. Or you can spend an entire day at home, lounging in your pajamas, without feeling like you have to explain why you're wasting time. It's a beautiful kind of autonomy, where every decision you make is yours and yours alone. Accountability can also feel like a drain on your mental energy. Having to remember to update someone or check in before making a move adds an extra layer of effort to your day. And let's be honest, sometimes, you just don't want to share. Not out of secrecy, but because it feels unnecessary. Why does anyone need to know where you are every second? Living alone erases that dynamic entirely. You can live your life with as much, or as little, spontaneity as you want, and the only person you answer to is yourself. This isn't about being inconsiderate, it's about valuing your independence. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make choices based purely on your needs, without worrying about how they might affect someone else. If you're the kind of person who feels weighed down by the idea of constant accountability, living alone might be the perfect way to reclaim your sense of freedom. Because, at the end of the day, your life is yours. Your time, your choices, your plans, completely unshared and unapologetically yours. And doesn't that sound like a breath of fresh air? Thanks so much for watching. I hope these 15 signs helped you decide if living alone is the right choice for you as an older adult. It's all about embracing your independence and making the best decisions for your lifestyle. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe for more helpful content, and share it with others who might find it useful. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.